but just wanted to post a video. If you guys like the videos, you know, you guys watch them. If you like them, hit a thumbs up on there for me. Okay guys, so I did install the side plate on the engine for the torque converter. This is the prototype that was sent to me. Pretty cool. I did paint it black. It was just steel. Installed the bearings, put the jack shaft in. One thing I do like about this, I don't know if it's really gonna matter for me or not because I'm running methanol, but you know, the way all this shrouding here works is to direct the fan across these fins and everything like that. Well, if you look under here, they put this metal piece on here to keep the air by these bottom fins to run it through them. Well, the way this plate is, it's gonna kind of force the air up through this exhaust side, which will, I think, will actually help cool down the exhaust side of the cylinder head. It's just going to direct air up through there. But it is on. Yeah, don't mention the table or the floor. It's just all parts. But the engine's pretty much still coming together. So look at the carb, drilled out the jets. They're fucking massive. The pilot's damn near as big. The pilot is twice the size of the main jet I was running before, put it that way. So we'll see how this runs. I don't know. I was given that as advice, what to drill those out to. But yeah, the block's all polished up. Side cover's on. Torque converter plate's on. I just installed the torque converter plate. I'm probably going to end up taking this off. There's one thing I forgot to do was to drill and tap the side cover for a vent. You know, it's very important to vent not only your valve cover but also your block. And not only vent it. I mean, I see guys just running tube, like a tube today just for looks. That has nothing to do with nothing. What you really need to do is go out and buy a PCV valve. You need to get a vacuum formed down here. You know, you'll end up with all this kind of pressure built up underneath the piston, and that's terrible for rings. It's terrible for your valves, to seal the valves. You know, you want a negative pressure, a vacuum in here and a vacuum in the head. That's why cars have PCV valves. Just running a simple tube is going to do nothing. You need some kind of check valve where it allows air out but not back in. You need to positively vent the crankcase. You need to create a vacuum in there. It also helps a little bit with power, but that's not what it's for. It's for longevity of the engine, to give your rings a better seat. It creates a vacuum under there. It helps seat the rings. It helps seal your valves. It gives you just a better engine. It will give you a little bit more power. But yeah, I mean, that's why some of the higher horsepower cars, they run dry sumps and systems like that. It's not just for the frothing of it's for the venting and the vacuum and the crankcase. You need that. But yeah, so it's just going back together. Just wanted to do a quick little blast video. Boom. Alright, so I did do a little bit more. I installed the fuel pump, just basically screwed it onto the shroud there. Put the pulse line. I don't know if I like the red. Kind of takes away from the kind of stainless and black thing I'm going for. Kind of almost looks a little clownish with the yellow, blue, and red. But I did clean up the torque converters, 40 series, rebuilt them. You know, just kind of polished them up a little bit. Drilled a couple more holes. This is an original Comet. So the original Comet doesn't have the 3 holes for setting your tension like the Chinese ones do. So I just put those in. This is the custom backplate that they sent me. I was waiting for this belt. They don't stock it, even though they made this prototype, but I did order it from Comet, the right size belt. So I got that on there. Had to get some new 3/8 by what is it, 20? 3/8 by 20 or 24. It's the fine thread. It's not the 3/8 by 16. I think it's either 3/8 by 20 or 3/8 by 24 for the torque converter. To space that out with a simple axle bearing, 1-inch axle bearing, lock collar. That gave me the right spacing. I have a C sprocket in there with the just a washer behind it. Everything is spaced out the way it's gonna be. So this is the way the engine's gonna sit. It's kind of getting a little beefy on this side, you know, a little less pressure. Feels like you could just topple over on that side. So this right here is the entire power plant. It's kind of crazy just having it sitting here like this. It's like so much power, you know, just right here in this little bundle. But just putting it together, I've been looking. I'm probably gonna have to order it. I want to get a 90. I have a 3/8 with the 1/4-inch MIP or NIP thread where I could take this bolt out and put a straight piece, but I want to get a 90 on there so I could get this, you know, just a straight tube across, and then I could probably come off here with my each one of these is going to need its own PCV valve. So maybe, I might not need that. I might have to go, might be able to go just PCV valve here, and then maybe do a 90, but I don't want it to come up here. Either way, it's going to need a 90 in there, but gotta still run my PCV valves. That way I have that positive, you know, you really want that suction to be created. You want it to, you know, the piston to come down, push, creates that pressure, and the pressure to escape, and then when the piston's going up to create a vacuum, that vacuum helps seal the rings, and then you want the vacuum to be created up here to really seal the valves. So you really want to install a PCV valve, but the engine's coming right along. It's pretty much the whole little bundle of joy. Things are just really kind of being tedious at this point and really taking a lot of time to kind of fine tune things and stuff like that. I have been doing a lot of work on you know, a different head setup that I might run, but we're gonna run with this head for now. It does flow pretty good, but I think I can make a head that flows better, and you know, it's all about that head flow. So head flow has a direct correlation to power. You see anybody out there with a little 25 millimeter carburetor, or you know, a stock carb on with just an air filter on it, and they're talking about they make 20 horsepower. Well, it's fucking impossible. You know, you just can't flow that many CFM through a 1-inch tube or smaller. You know, even a 22 millimeter Makuni, it's still not even an inch. So, you know, you just can't flow the CFM required to make the horsepower. Even with this carb on here, which is a pretty big carburetor, you know, it's only 170 something CFM. You know, so this engine right here on gas, every 100 CFM is roughly 26 horsepower. So this is probably 40 horsepower, 40 something horsepower on gas. On methanol, you add 5 to 10%, so it might be 50 horsepower. You know, and then you can get into the nitromethane. The nitromethane is really where, you know, you really start picking up the numbers, but that shit's expensive. So I mean, if you could just get your head alone to flow, you know, 200 CFM, it has the horsepower potential of 50 horsepower on gas, which is the cheapest. So, you know, you really want your head to flow. Everything, I mean, I've done everything to this head. You know, it's welded, it's filled in the inside with aluminum. It's ported out huge. I've epoxied over it. You know, it's got a huge valve in there and a big exhaust valve, and everything's been optimized, but still the port angles on a stock head could be better. That's kind of what I'm working on down here. Just tubing some heads and stuff, but even at that, you know, you still really got to put some huge valves in these damn things. As you can see, this thing it's kind of big. It's got a much better angle than stock, as you can see, and you can see the port just dumped straight into it. It did pop through everywhere, but I want to put a much bigger valve. I want to put as big a valve as I can put. I'm going to put a slightly bigger exhaust seat in first, and then whatever's left, maybe a 44 millimeter intake valve. 45. 45 could probably fit with a stock seat, exhaust seat, but it won't fit with the slightly larger. You got to keep a proper ratio for everything. Can't just have all that intake and then you can't get it out. So this is a little quick update on the build. Nothing really much going on, just slowly progressing. It took me a day. I mean, these things were in really rough shape. They were just sitting in my garage and they were all pitted with rust. Just these plates were just completely pitted. But I went through and cleaned them up and polished them. This one here, I didn't really do that good of a job, but that'll probably burn off. But I had to go through, and there's still, even this thing, a couple of things with this. I was pushing so much power through that it broke that weld on my drag cart, and I didn't know it. I thought the belts were slipping, but this entire, the whole pulley was spinning on the axle, and I couldn't get it figured out. I was thinking, oh, my belt maybe had oil on it, but I actually broke the that weld back there. I cleaned it up and put another weld on there, and then it had mushroomed. There's a lock ring that goes in here that I don't have right now. I actually broke it, and it's Sunday, so I gotta go out tomorrow and get another one. I went to Home Depot, but they didn't have an 1.25 inch lock ring. But this thing was so mushroomed out that even after I took the lock ring off, I couldn't slide this out. I had to push it down, clamp it down, and then take a grinder or a sand roll and go around it just to clean it up, to bring that back down so I could slide this off. It was really jacked up. But yeah, so that took me an entire day to just clean these things up, get them back on. It was a day, I could have went out and just bought a new set, but a new set of Comets is $300. These are original Comets. This thing's got the weld here. This is original Comet. So, might as well work with the OG stuff. So the back plate had broken off of the main shaft, and that's what everything else is connected to. This is what actually this is the keyed part of it, and this is what transfers the load. So I mean, that weld there being broken, obviously you could tell that that's going to do some damage. It's not going to transmit the power, but I'm about to weld this stuff up here. I got my Harbor Freight welder, not the best in the world, but it'll get it done. Flux core MIG. I'm just going to take this and blast around it. Alright guys, so this is it. This is how the weld came out. I hit it with a wire brush. For the most part, it's a really good weld. It doesn't look too beautiful, but again, this is with a Harbor Freight flux core. So I've taken it over now, so I've welded it and just flipped it over. This surface is kind of rough. I keep my shit outside for the most part, so I started hitting it with the wire brush here, but I'm going to hit it with the wire brush on the drill. Clean that up as clean as I can get it, and I'll show you what it looks like out on. Alright, so this is it just after the wire brush. I think I'm going to take it the next level and maybe hit it with a sander. There's a bunch of pitting on this from rust, and that's basically the mating surface between the belts and the carts. So you want that to have as much grip as possible. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit more with sander, and I'll show you it after that. So this is it after I hit it with the first sandpaper. This is 80 grit. It's really uniform now. I took out all of those for the most part, all the pitting. I mean, there's still some light pitting, but this looks a whole lot better. It feels much better. I might hit it with some 220 just to kind of any of the high surfaces, really give those a shine, but that's about probably all I'll do. I'll get back with you after I hit it. So this is it after the 220. There's really only some dimpling right here. The rest of this thing looks pretty good. This is the worst area, and even this, I mean, from here it's like perfect. Here, this above this line was mushroomed, and I couldn't even get the clip off. It was crushed in on it, and then even after I got the clip off, this still wouldn't come off. So I had to push it down, clamp it, grind around here, and then I was able to get this off. But yeah, you can see it was a nightmare. But we're going from shit like this to shit like this. But just wanted to post a video. If you guys like the videos, you know, you guys watch them. If you like them, hit a thumbs up on there for me. You know, the videos I've been posting lately are more techie. So if there's even anything, any type of information on there that you guys find useful, you know, just click a thumbs up, because that's how YouTube, you know, selects what videos it's going to show to people. And when I go onto my you know, to my analysis pages, it's really not getting seen as much as it should. And I mean, we could really help that out a lot, or you could help me out an absolute lot, because I love making these videos. I just love making these engines. So if there's anything you guys are picking up from these, please just click that like button. That would be huge for me.